Frequency Podcast Network. Stories that matter, podcasts that resonate.
Navigating this economy has never been more confusing or frustrating, and we're here to help you try to figure things out. If you're a white-collar professional worker in this country, you are quite possibly unhappy with your current state of employment. And the numbers indicate a whole bunch of people think the grass is greener elsewhere. But changing jobs in this economy? Well, the 2025 Robert Walters salary survey shows that 74% of Canadian professionals are looking to change jobs. Half are expecting a pay raise from their current employer next year. Just 35% actually feel confident about job opportunities within their particular sector. And 70% are dissatisfied with their employee benefits plan. That's a lot to unpack. So to help, we reached out to Martin Fox, the managing director at Robert Walters Canada. Thank you very much, Martin, for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Mike.
So when we're talking about the backstory of what type of workers or jobs we're looking at for people considering a job shift in 2025, when we're talking about the professional ranks, what would those include specifically?
So our survey would cover quote unquote white collar professionals, Mike. So for us, that would be accountants, lawyers, people working within risk, compliance, HR, technology, more of the kind of, corporate office type roles. And level wise, it would be more skewed towards the kind of mid-level to senior levels.
So when we're looking just at the top line figures, the 74% of those working professionals might be looking for a change of job or profession in, not necessarily profession, but a change of workplace in 2025. That indicates to me a lot of disgruntlement out there, and people are not satisfied with what they're currently doing.
Yes, I know. It's quite a staggering number. I agree. I think there's quite a few things at play here in the background. One would be a bit of you call it a hangover from 2021 and 2022. When we saw record numbers of job movement coming out of COVID. People were moving, 1, 2, sometimes 3 times in that period for, better pay, better work-life balance, more remote work, higher titles. Companies were really kind of throwing money to attract and retain talent. That subsided in kind of start of 2023. And the market normalized quite a bit. So from that time to now, coming up on pretty much 2 years, there are a lot of people who have maybe wanted to explore the market but didn't, whether it was because of increased cost of living, inflation, interest rates, again, more mid to senior people that might have more liabilities, more costs, families, etc. And they stayed put. And now there's a bit of a feeling going into the new year of, it's our turn, and we're going to look at the market. So I think that's a bit of the backdrop there. And people are kind of, I think, looking forward to 2025 as a bit of a brighter year where there is more opportunity for them.
Is this a function of, let's face it, inflation has done what it has done, and, costs are up anywhere from 20 to 30% on a household budget. People are feeling that. And 2024 has been the year of seeing a lot of headlines where, for example, unionized workers are getting these massive pay increases with big contracts being agreed to. Are professional workers looking at that and going, hey, maybe I can push for something like that in 2025? Because, again, my costs have gone up, and yet maybe my salary hasn't done the same.
There is certainly a feeling of, the world has changed post-COVID. Everything is more expensive, and the salary increases being provided by current employers is not enough to make up for it. Especially when, let's say, you're talking to people working in the financial services community where maybe the last 2 years have been a little bit flat in terms of performance, that would affect their bonus. So if you look at overall packages, they have probably stayed the same or maybe even gone down. People are thinking, this isn't good enough for me, and everything's getting more expensive, and I'm going to go do something about it. And often that means having to move your company to do so.
As always, and I think this has always been sort of the case, it's not just about what you're being paid. It's also about the benefits are obviously a factor. Vacation time, of note, most recently, the hybrid work, people being called back to the office versus working from home. So, there's a lot of things in the mix when you're looking at, potentially jumping to another employer, isn't there?
Yes, absolutely. There's companies have a tough job right now to take that holistic approach, and people have very high expectations. So I think the ones that are doing it the best have a very balanced approach, and that are probably listening to their employees, Mike. So I think a lot of this comes down to communication on what people are expecting, especially around something like benefits, where companies may think they have a really good, robust package compared to a competitor or the market. But when you dig into people's individual needs within that organization across different generations, our findings from a separate survey around benefits is that actually about 70% of people are unhappy with what they're currently getting on that front.
Well, is that a function of the benefits not actually being there, or employees not knowing what they're actually entitled to in their benefit package? Because I've seen this in several circumstances where you'll get a note from HR, hey, update your benefits, know what you're getting. And at the end of the day, I don't know if a lot of people know entirely what they're entitled to.
Yeah, it is that, Mike, the latter. So on the whole, companies are offering definitely offering benefits, varying degrees of coverage and whatnot, but largely those are there. It's more the people either don't know what they can get, haven't put the time into actually registering for certain things, or using all of their benefits. For example, a lot of people would have, let's say, $500 to spend on a massage each year, or multiple massages. People don't know that, or maybe don't get those. So that kind of in their mind will go to waste. So I think it's a job of employees to know exactly what they're getting and using it all and maxing it out, and then employers to communicate with everybody what they are entitled to. Also, I think it's important that they listen, though the employers listen, because in using that example, massage might be not relevant for half of the employee base. What would be better? Oh, maybe increase vision care, or maybe a personal spending account where you can use that towards your gym membership, whatever it is. So people have different needs, and it's the demographic has shifted. That the certainly Gen Z, who are going to make up a third of the workforce from 2025, are speaking up about these things. There is a real focus on well-being. So whether that is mental health or hybrid working, work-life balance, all of these things have really come out of these surveys as being very, very important.
Of course, we're going into a new year that on the surface at this point, we're seeing a lot of unease. We've had a U.S. election that has shaken things up, certainly. The corporate sector is worried about tariffs. The consumers are worried about this, that, and the other thing. Is this need for change, for lack of a better description, or want for change, is it going to run headlong into an economy that may not be as willing to look at big hiring in 2025?
Yeah, I think it could, Mike. And that's the kind of catch-22 about this whole thing. So a lot of people want to change and want to move. They wanted career advancements, for example, opportunities. That was more than a third of the respondents. But then also in the same survey, we found that only 35% feel confident about the job opportunities out there. So that kind of leads to, I want to do something, but is the grass greener? And that's where I think it's going to take a lot of factors to line up for people to actually make the leap across. And they will probably be a little bit disappointed when it comes to what the market has to offer them. So yeah, you're right. That is something that we're tracking. Certainly in the first half of the year, our kind of forecasting is that H2 and beyond will be more fruitful in terms of new opportunities being created.
The second point to that is, if, let's say, a professional wants to go to another employer and they're discussing, the opportunities, are they going to be potentially disappointed or find that the grass is specifically greener elsewhere. I mean, that's the old cliche, but that theory that jumping ship can lead to a positive outcome.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of factors there depending on the industry and sector. A lot of companies have been very conservative in their investment in the last couple of years, just given the economic backdrop that we're working in. So that for firms that are well capitalized, that are ambitious to say invest, make deals, acquire companies, and there are those for sure. I think they've been waiting on the sidelines for interest rates to go down a little bit more, and then we'll come to market. So if you're looking at a company like that in 2025, there will be some good opportunity. But I think what it kind of comes down to is that the laundry list to make a move is just very long now. It's base salary, it's bonus, it's potentially equity or shares, depending on the seniority of the person. It's the benefits that we spoke about, it's the vacation, and then it's the hybrid, or lack of. So companies or people that have been used to being at home 2-3+ times a week, we're finding are interested in discussing roles. However, a lot of the companies in the bucket that I described, that are planning to do a lot of investment or activity next year, a lot of those companies have moved to 4 or 5 days in the office. So then the question is, can I do this with my personal life and set up family? And a lot of people are unable to. So that will probably cause them to either stay where they are or look for a similar firm with the same hybrid scheme.
How much flexibility do you think if you're looking to change jobs, do you stay in one city? Are people willing to move elsewhere across the country or to another country for all that matter?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. We find, and I've worked around the world, Mike, I've worked in the Irish market, the UK, I've recruited in the Middle East, and then I kind of came back home to Canada to set up our office 8 years ago. And I have found that Canadians in general are actually not very interested in relocating on the whole, unless there is some, kind of romantic connection to where you're going. Like, for example, grew up in Calgary, been living in the GTA, fed up with house prices and traffic, and there's a great opportunity with lower tax in Alberta. I'm going to move home. That is a thing. I'd probably say the same with people from the Vancouver area. Otherwise, you don't see people just, picking up sticks and moving across the country for what could be a better paying job. In general, the sentiment here is, no, that's not something we're going to do. People are quite, keen to stay in their local community. Whereas you compare that to, say, the US, and we have 3 offices in the US, and I talk to our colleagues there all the time. Generally, people in the US are very happy to pick up and just move for a better opportunity. And the attitude is, you know what, this will work out. So there's a little bit more of that entrepreneurial spirit, less conservative. And then the international move, that is actually quite prevalent, Mike. We get a lot of questions and requests, and we're a global company. We're able to help people do that. That isn't as easy as it sounds, with the way kind of things are going immigration-wise around the world. It can be quite tough to just pick up and move, especially if you have a family, if you do not already have a passport or work permit or visa to go to that country. On the whole, globally, countries and employers are less interested in sponsoring people because the attitude is more of, let's employ who's here first.
As people are looking for these new opportunities, are you seeing the flip side with employers doing any recruiting or poaching of top talent from other firms? Is it as big as it used to be, or is it still the same, or has that changed in any way, shape, or form?
I would say it's actually increased, Mike, because of the advancement of technology and what has come out as tools to recruit. So there are many ways you can go about recruiting talent yourself, through LinkedIn, through various job boards, postings, algorithms. I mean, it's very, very tech focused now. However, that hits a ceiling as well because it lacks that human contact. So our clients are very willing to work with us and pay our fees because they know they're going to get a very thorough process where we're meeting people in person, screening them, doing competency-based interviews, technical interviews, and only presenting the best people that would be suitable for that role and for that company. The only thing there, so I think the need is there, but the number of opportunities are lower, as we discussed. But we do see that changing certainly back half of next year. And also, I'd comment there that when someone does leave a role, especially a senior post, more often than not, a company is going to try to find someone who's doing the same role in a competitor, and thus usually would need someone who is in the middle and doesn't have allegiance to either side to go and do that. And that's where a firm like ourselves would come in.
Interesting. Well, we'll see what a year from now. Let's touch base. If not sooner, to see exactly how the trends and projections have worked out. Thank you very much for doing this today. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Mike. Take care.
That's Martin Fox, the Managing Director of professional recruitment company Robert Walters Group Canada. That's all for this episode of In This Economy. My name is Mike Eppel. If you have any feedback on this episode or want to ask a question or for a story idea, you can email me at mike.eppel@rci.rogers.com. And a reminder, you can get all of your favorite frequency podcasts like The Big Story on the Seeker app. That's SEEKR. Thanks for listening.